Hello again. Pressure is mounting for the ANC's National Working Committee and NEC to forge a way forward regarding the Section 89 Independent Panel report on the Palapala farm robbery. While we await the outcomes of those meetings, one cannot help but look at the history of the ANC and the leaders who've had to leave office prematurely. In 2008, President Thabo Mbeki was recalled by his own party after wide criticism of his leadership style and policies. 10 years later, Jacob Zuma faced the same fate after pressure from the public, opposition parties and members of his own party to resign or face a motion of no confidence. This was over the findings of the then public protector's findings on alleged corruption linked to his Nkandla homestead. President Zuma resigned on the eve of his vote of no confidence in Parliament. So will this be the legacy of the ruling party? Political sciences professor at the University of South Africa, Professor Dirk Kotze, helps us to answer that question. Prof, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning. Before we get into it, let's revisit that moment in 2008 when then President Thabo Mbeki made it known to the rest of the country and the world that he will be stepping down.
Fellow South Africans, I have no doubt that you are aware of the announcement made yesterday by the National Executive Committee of the ANC with regard to the position of the President of the Republic. Accordingly, I would like to take this opportunity to inform the nation that today I handed a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honorable Baleka Mbete, to tender my resignation from the high position of President of the Republic of South Africa.
Prof, remind us of the circumstances that led to that announcement.
I think it is very important to keep in mind that that happened after the 2007 Polokwane National Conference. So at which event he was not re-elected for third term as ANC president, but later President Zuma. And that created, in a sense, a two centers of power situation within the ANC, because we had President Zuma as ANC president and President Mbeki as the national president. And because of that, and because of the criticisms against President Mbeki over quite some time before the Polokwane conference, and the fact that they realized that he is now weaker in the political terms because he's not anymore the ANC's president, that created the opportunity to put the pressure on him in the National Executive Committee and ultimately convinced him to resign. Something quite similar happened actually with President Zuma also, in the sense that he was also, it was after the conference where he was, the second where he was not re-elected as ANC president, and was only the national president. And because of, again, the weaker situation, being not the ANC president anymore, that opened up the possibility, in the context of the Nkandla situation, for him to be forced to resign ultimately.
Let's take a look at that moment when the former President Jacob Zuma made his announcement.
Well, good evening, colleagues, members of the media present here, fellow South Africans. I address you after weeks of speculation about my future as President of the Republic of South Africa. In particular, I make reference to the much publicized and awaited decision of the African National Congress issued on the 13th February 2018. It is now public knowledge that the National Executive Committee of the ANC resolved to recall me as the President of the Republic. I have also learned that before I respond to the initial decision, a new decision has been made by the ANC, whose effect is that I have now been compelled to resign by way of a motion of no confidence.
After months of speculation on exactly what happened in 2020 on that farm in Limpopo, is this moment, the moment we saw before of the former President Thabo Mbeki, inevitable?
I think the difference between the two situations is the fact that President Ramaphosa is still in the two presidential positions. And that is the difference between with the other two presidents. What we are therefore is still can use his influence in especially the National Executive Committee as president of the ANC, which many people underestimate the institutional influence and the institutional power of that position, which does not make him as vulnerable as President Mbeki or President Zuma was. And for that reason, I think we are not in the same situation. In about 5 years' time, President Ramaphosa will be in that situation. But when he's not anymore the national the ANC's president, if the politics develop in that direction. But for the meantime, I think he's still institutionally in a very strong position.
What is institutional influence and institutional power?
It means the power that goes along with the president, the ANC's president and the national president. It's something which does not depend on the person. It depends on the position, on the post. It depends on the constitutional powers, both of the national constitution as well as the ANC's constitution that's attached to this. And that's something that exists, and it's not tangible. It's not something people can see, but they can experience it. They know it's there. It is that influence, that impact that it makes on situations. It is just there, and no one else in the ANC can compete with it. That is why, for example, at the national conference, President Ramaphosa has an institutional advantage over any other candidates because of this. It's only when he is going to be not anymore up for re-election that type of power will diminish.
Prof, perceptions too are intangible, and so given that some members in his own party are already smelling blood and indicating quite publicly that he should step down, could it be that come the 6th of December on Tuesday we'll see members of his own party voting against him?
That's very unlikely. At this stage, we don't know how the voting will take place, whether it will be a secret ballot or it will be an open voting. It's most likely that it will be an open voting. If that's the case, there will be additional pressure on the members of parliament of the ANC to vote as a bloc. I think definitely there will be a caucus meetings in which these positions will be developed. And I think part of the purpose of the National Working Committee and National Executive Committee meetings is to start with that process already. So when they come to Tuesday, there will be immense pressure on all the members of the ANC's members of parliament to vote according to the caucus decision.
Professor Dirk Kotze, UNISA School of Political Sciences, thank you very much for availing yourself this morning.